Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'm pleased to be able to present the IATA's annual general meeting, our report as the chair of the IATA Board of Governors. I was honored to serve as the board chair over the past 12 months and to have the opportunity to work very closely with Willy Walsh and his team. Over the past several years, the world has witnessed vivid reminders as to the preciousness and uncertainty of life. 3 years of pandemic resulted in the loss of millions of lives and the near collapse of our industry. I am very pleased that the lifting of almost all COVID-19 travel restrictions have been allowed us to all come together here today, particularly our colleagues from China. And I would like to make a small advertisement here. This meeting is the crowdest AGM I think ever made. There are 1,520 participants, and hotel management asked from the IATA management to accept participation because we exceeded their insurance limits. So thank you all. Tragically, as we began to emerge from the COVID-19 crisis, my country, Turkey, suffered the devastating earthquake on the 6th of February that took the lives of almost 60,000 of my fellow citizens and the livelihoods of many, many more. Later this morning, representatives of the Turkish airline and travel industry will brief members on the incredible challenge of recovering the best we can from this historic devastation. As a member of this industry, I'm proud of aviation's strong humanitarian response to help the victims of the earthquake. Our thoughts remain with the victims and their loved ones. As Willy noted, our industry is well on the way returning to pre-pandemic levels now that the remaining COVID-19 government restrictions are lifted and people have again reached for freedom offered by commercial aviation. The resilience of our industry has been tested and we have clearly survived. We now must collectively commit ourselves to the strengthening of our industry to better prepare for the inevitable future challenges we will face. Your association is to key this effort. Without you, we can't achieve. One IATA program, which I believe is absolutely vital to our collective future success, is 25 by 2025, under which industry participants agree to increase female representation in senior roles or organizations and in the areas where women are traditionally underrepresented, such as on the flight deck and in the maintenance hangar. We need to better leverage the talents and perspectives of the many incredible women who are already in our industry and encourage more to join us in the future. I'm pleased to see that the number of senior women commercial aviation has increased by 4% since we reported on the data last year, including the CEO roles. I'm very proud that Pegasus is one of the 28 airlines in the globe being led by a female CEO, Ms. Güliz Öztürk. And I'm very hopeful that the time will soon come when female CEOs and executives are the norm rather than exception. Let me now turn to my report from yesterday's board meeting. The board began with a review of the financial health of the airline industry. As Willy noted in his report, the industry is expected to return to overall profitability in this year, 2023, which is an incredible accomplishment given the 180 billion losses incurred over the last 3 years. This is also interesting to note that despite predictions to the contrary, the recovery in passenger volumes in the premium cabins has tracked closely with recovery in the economy cabins. We are looking forward to a busy and profitable summer travel season, while at the same time recognizing that the possibility of cost increases on nearly every front could spell a more challenging environment for the industry in 2024. Turning to the topic of the environment, it is important to note that today, June 5th, is the World Environment Day. It is therefore fitting that I am able to report that an agreement has been concluded between the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, and IATA to cooperate in efforts to reduce the use of single-use plastic on board, as well as to address other sustainability topics. This followed an excellent presentation by UNEP's Economy Director at last year's World Air Transport Summit in Doha. Congratulations to all. During our meeting, the board had an in-depth discussion on the potential call for a global mandate on the use of sustainable aviation fuels by the upcoming ICAO Third Conference on Aviation and Alternative Fuels, so-called CAF 3. Willie has already outlined how SAF is an irreplaceable component of our shared commitment to fly net zero carbon by 2050. IATA was encouraged to continue to analyze the factors driving SAF production and the effectiveness of potential state mandates in this area as we develop our formal position going into the CAF 3 meeting later this year in November. Any ICAO resolution in this area must recognize the requirement that states as policymakers enable SAF production and deployment, particularly through the use of incentive-based policy frameworks. Further, states need to recognize that all stakeholders in the value chain must play their part in achieving carbon reduction emissions, including SAF production and deployment. The board expressed its opposition to any global or other mandate and the necessity to support regions and countries' specific needs given the current significant heterogeneity around any global average for SAF production. Next, we turned to a discussion of thematic auto-check, the IATA technology solution that is used by the aviation industry to ensure that over 700 million passengers every year have sufficient travel documents for their journey. Thematic is used for numerous airlines, ground handlers, and travel agents globally, covering more than 50% of international air travel. As reports have come more congested, it is critical that passengers arrive fully processed without the need to see a check-in agent to have their travel documents or identity verified. The board has briefed on IATA's launch of a project to develop a new version of thematic auto-check that promises to improve operational efficiencies and the passenger experience while reducing overall costs. In order to achieve this goal, a redevelopment of certain check-in processes will be required. As a part of this program, IATA is collaborating with all major providers of DCS, departure control systems, that will perform the integration work for airlines with whom they work. The board endorsed this thematic auto-check project and strongly encouraged all member airlines to work close with their DCSs providers to ensure a timely migration of this newest version. The board then received a briefing from IATA on the serious supply chain issues the industry is facing and the resulting delay in the delivery of the new aircraft, maintenance, repair, and overhaul services. Several factors unrelated to the disruptions caused by COVID-19 continue to contribute to this unstable situation. IATA has engaged with major original equipment manufacturers, OEMs, as well as original aircraft manufacturers, OAMs, to address this issue particularly. A particular focus is the need for airlines to be able to monitor and measure supplier performance. Today, product and services standard support agreements between OAMs and the Tier 1 suppliers do not include terms protecting the airlines from abuse in the supply chain. The board directed IATA to support its members in the monitoring of the overall performance of key suppliers, as well as to develop a new standard support agreement between OAMs and their Tier 1 suppliers. Turning finally to the business of IATA, the board reviewed the report of its audit committee and approved the financial statements of IATA for 2022 and the appointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers as IATA's external auditor for 2023. Both items are the subjects of resolutions that will be put to the membership approval today. I'm pleased to report that the association continues to enjoy a sound financial position with a debt-free balance sheet and effective internal controls and procedures. The board approved the recommendation of the Chair Committee that the 2024 membership dues be maintained at 12.6 million USD and the 2023 membership financial assessment resolution to be presented to the IATA AGM for your approval. The board also approved the elimination of the IATA membership entrance fee and admission fee to encourage smaller and ultra-low-cost airlines, in particular, to join our association. And finally, the board adopted guidelines in relation to the administration and activities of IATA's interest groups. Lastly, I would like to congratulate the 15 airlines listed on the screen that have joined IATA in the past year. So I would like to welcome them and congratulate them. Our membership now stands over 305 airlines from all parts of the world and operating with many business models. While we welcome all new members, I would note the significance of Edelweiss and Scoot, which demonstrate the value of membership for subsidiary companies of long-standing members. That concludes my chair report on the deliberations of the board since our last annual general meeting in Doha. I would like to thank Willy and the whole IATA team for their great support during my term as chair of the IATA Board of Governors. I'm delighted that Ms. Yvonne Manzi Mokolo, CEO of Rwanda Air, will be succeeding me as chair starting from at the end of this meeting. Thank you for listening to me.